had himself an evening. Gets Jaylen Brown in the air, then off the window. Murray likes that move. This time, Al Horford bites on the fake. Little scoop to the hoop. And then Nikola Jokic snaps the outlet pass. There's Murray. Takes out a three he likes. Gets a lot of rim, but it finally finds its way down through the hole. He had a career-high 23 in the first half. And he kept it going. Big fourth quarter for Jamal Murray. Directing traffic and then pulling up and hitting a three. Ties his career-high 38 points. And then Murray next trip down. Running around, hits a floater. That's 40, new career high. He's not done. Coming off the inbounds. Murray's got it. Absorbs the contact. Gets it to go. 48 points for Jamal Murray. Game's over at this point. He just decides to... He's going for 50. He didn't get it. Kyrie's not very happy. Would chuck the ball in the stands. Nuggets 9-1 on the year.
What kind of competitor wouldn't it bother? You know what I'm saying? So, I understand if we fouled him going to the free throw line. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. Obviously, I was pissed off at the game, but it's time to decompress and move on. Congratulations to him having 48 points. The ball deserves to go in the crowd after a move like that. So, do it in the crowd.
I was trying to get 50. I didn't mean no harm. I should have done it, but they understand I was trying to get 50.
Kentucky and Duke play tonight. Former Kentucky and Duke players get a little feisty last night. Meanwhile, the Nuggets, they missed the playoffs by just a game last season despite having one of the worst defenses in the NBA. This season, they've been elite on D, having already beaten the Celtics. They've already beaten the Warriors. Denver held Golden State under 100 in the reigning champs' only loss of the season. Carrie?
All right, so Stephen A. still here with us. David, thank you for setting that up. Kyrie not happy with Murray, but let me ask you this. Is it more about him being frustrated with a team that's now 6-4 that once, and still could be, but really considered a title contender?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, somebody drops 48 on you, that will hurt your feelings. Okay, that's number one. Particularly in a loss, we gotta make sure we recognize that. Denver's a young team. Got to give my man Jalen Rose some love. He's been talking about Denver since the beginning of the season, and they really, really look legit and very, very impressive with Gary Harris, with Jamal Murray, with Jokic and those boys. They can really play. But I also think it's a combination of that. Along with that unwritten rule, you don't do what Murray did. We get all of that. But the other side to this is that the Boston Celtics have not been looking the way that they were supposed to look. Now, they're 6-4. They were just 6-2 a couple of days ago. They lost 2 games back-to-back, Indiana and then obviously Denver. But you also got to pay attention to the fact that the Toronto Raptors are balling. Even in the 4 games that they haven't had Kawhi Leonard, they're 3-1 in those games. They're averaging 117 points a game with them, averaging 117 points a game without them.
Yeah, I
so
saw
these
that.
are the Toronto Raptors. They're long, they're athletic, they're big, they defend, they go after it, and there seems to be no drop-off from Dwayne Casey to Nick Nurse. And obviously there's elevation from DeMar DeRozan, who can ball, by the way, but Kawhi Leonard is a special kind of player. You're the Boston Celtics. You're trying to matriculate Gordon Hayward back into the proceedings. In the same breath, his arrival in the starting lineup, although he's compromised because there's minutes restrictions at 25. Remember, Jason Tatum was in that lineup. Jaylen Brown was in that lineup. So the fluidity of the offense and the manner in which they did things has been somewhat compromised trying to get him back into the mix.
Exactly.
Kawhi Leonard is averaging 19 a game, not 24. He's taking 4 less shots a game, but he's shooting 48% from the field. He's shooting 41% from three-point range. But guess what, Gary? Even though he's doing those things, he's taking less shots, like I just pointed out. And he hasn't been the same either because he was injured last year. So all of these things, they'll get it together.
Right.
The problem is you have to get it together sooner rather than later because Toronto is running away with it. And if you're the Boston Celtics, you do not want to go to Canada to play a potential Game 7, stuff like that. You don't want to deal with the Greek Freak in Milwaukee without home court advantage as well because he's balling. And LeBron James is not in the Eastern Conference. Toronto, LeBron James is their kryptonite. He was their kryptonite. He's out west now. So they have nothing to fear. Boston recognizes this. Kyrie recognizes this. And the Boston Celtics have got to get it together. Because even at 6-4, we expect more from them. If they don't go to the finals, this season is a failure.
Of course.
This season is a failure if they don't go to the finals.
If y'all don't go to the finals, this season is a failure. Thank you so much. We will see you soon. I guess you're joining us.
But they should be able to remain afloat until he gets back.
Yeah, well, let's hope. They won that game last night. The Thunder will hope that that will be okay. You hear Paul say that. It's still early, but OKC's a much different team when both Westbrook and Paul George are on the court. Together, their net efficiency is 17 points better than compared to when it's just Paul George on the court. court by himself. Let's welcome in. If you've heard his voice, you'll see his face now. It is Paul Pierce joining us here. Thank you so much. You left from First Take, came right on over here and sat down with us. So we just talked about Westbrook. My concern for him is that we're starting to see these injuries pile up. Earlier this year, he had a meniscus issue. They cleaned that up, and then he rolls that same ankle he did before. And as the stats say, they are not good without him. If you're in the front office, what do you do?
Well, I'm not sure there's much you can do. I don't know if there's a trade out there you can make or a player you can go look for. They just going to have to try to stay afloat. You know, Dennis Schroeder, they picked up in the offseason. Nerlens Noel, they picked up. So they're going to have to try to get by until he gets healthy. Paul George is going to have to carry a bigger load.
But can he?
I think he's capable of it, but, you know, the West is tough. If they slide too far behind while Westbrook is out, if he's out for like 3-4 weeks, it could be trouble for OKC.
Yeah, okay, so speaking of the West and how deep they are, let's talk about the Lakers. Right across the street, we're hearing some sounds about Luke Walton perhaps not necessarily having job security. They asked LeBron about that. Let's take a listen.
It doesn't bother me at all because I don't pay attention to it. I don't listen to it. It actually never even gets to me, really, so it's not a big deal for us.
Not a big deal. LeBron not weighing in on it. His name is Bennett, and he ain't in it. So you have heard what they've said about Luke Walton. Do you believe that he has job security until the end of the season, at least?
I'm not so sure because, you know, one day he gets a big win, his job is secure, then he gets one of the worst losses, you know, in Laker history. They was down first quarter so much. It's just like a player on the injury report. He's day to day. You know, it could be good, it could be bad, but, you know, if things don't, I think I give him 25 to 30 games. If you give him that much, then you can see where the Lakers are. You can see who they really are. If they're not doing so well and they're well under 500, I think he may not be there the rest of the year.
The call to action earlier this, I guess maybe in September, Magic said, let's just be patient. It's a new team. They're not set up to win, especially with this young roster. What do you think?
I mean, they're not set up to win the championship.
But they are set up to be in the playoffs.
They're set up to be in the playoffs when you have LeBron James.
Okay.
I mean, so if you're not in playoff contention after so many games, like I said, 25 to 30 games with
That's
LeBron,
unacceptable.
You're not playing inspiring defense, then there may be changes on the way. I mean, this is L.A.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the expectations come with L.A. and LeBron.
Okay, you made two really good points. They're set up to make the playoffs. If they don't even get to that point or look as if they're not getting to that point, his job should be in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
That's
Paul,
for anybody.
For anybody in the league, right? Especially if you got LeBron on your team. Paul Pierce joining us for the first time on Coast to Coast. It feels really special here.
Oh, yeah.
David, I'll send it back to you. Do you have Paul Pierce there in your studio?
It's always good to be here.
Joining me here on Coast to Coast. You guys know this at home. Cowboys sitting in third in the sad NFC East. Jerry says there will be no coaching changes this season. And you've made it clear, Stephen A., that there needs to, for some time now, complete overhaul. We hear Troy Aikman saying the same. So let me ask you this question. Do you think that Jerry will make some major changes, at least in the offseason?
I think he's going to have to. I think the pressure's mounting. Being in Dallas yesterday, listening to the folks, I think that ultimately the pressure is going to mount. You have a quarterback in Dak Prescott who's simply going in the wrong direction with Jason Garrett as his head coach and Scott Linehan as his offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator inexplicably gives the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, your stud running back, 6 times in the second half, for the second consecutive game. Makes absolutely positively no sense whatsoever. An absolute embarrassment. The defense is a top 4 defense in the NFL. 4th ranked defense, 5 in yards allowed, 4th against the pass, 4th or 5 against the pass. I might add the defense, the personnel with the Marcus Lawrence, Stephen Ray as your edge rusher handling his business. You see what they're doing defensively, but offensively they can't seem to get anything going. You have a coach in Jason Garrett that anybody who is honest with the public will tell you the only reason he has the head coaching job with the Dallas Cowboys, particularly for this long, is because he has a personal relationship with Jerry Jones. That is it. There is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, else that you can point to that justifies this man staying on as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He was an offensive coordinator getting paid the same amount of money as the head coach, Wade Phillips, at the time. There was no offensive coordinator in football getting $3 million a year, but Jason Garrett was. Why? Because Jerry Jones likes him. Evidently, they have Thanksgiving dinner together. Evidently, they exchange Christmas gifts with one another. Evidently, their families love one another and what have you. And see, these are the kind of things where you create problems in our society because you you look at the relationship
Yeah.
and you're saying that doesn't happen for everybody, but it happens for this particular individual.
Yeah.
Why? And I think that the die has been cast. Everybody knows what time it is. It's just that Jerry Jones is the one that's going to make that call, and ultimately he's going to be compelled to do so.
This reminds me of my early days on First Take. I've never heard you say much about the Cowboys. This is the first time. I kid. Stick around, and just for a few seconds, Stephen A. is going to talk to us about some NBA. David, I'll send it back to you.